Let's now do an advanced setup of the BrandNav Verifier 2.0. For this, we would require to set up one server and two domains. Let's start by setting up the server first. You can go for any virtual service provider, but in this tutorial, I am going for Linode. The process, however, should be the same for all providers. First, we will create our server. To do this, we will go to Linode and click on Create Linode. Then we will select our region, select Ubuntu 22.04 as our OS of choice, and I will select a shared VPS with 1 CPU and 2 GB of RAM. I will then give my VPS a name I will remember, and then a super secure password. Finally, I will scroll down and click on Create Linode to create my VPS. This might take a while, so we will wait till the server is created and running. Once the server boots, we'll copy the SSH access command here and just paste that into our terminal to access our server for the first time. If you are prompted with anything like this, just type YES and press Enter. Next, you will be asked for your VPS password. Carefully enter your password. You will not see anything on the screen as you type, and that's normal. Press Enter once you are done, and you should be in. If you ever get disconnected from your server, you will have to type the command /root@ followed by your IP address again, and then after entering the password, you will be able to connect to your server again. Great! Let's set up our VPS now. Enter the following command, sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade -y. This command will make sure our VPS is ready with the up-to-date software so we can begin setting it up. This might take a while, so be patient. If you see any screen like this, just press Enter and it will go away. Once this is done, let's install Docker on our server. To do this, we make a quick Google search of Docker install on Ubuntu and click the first link. We will follow the instructions given in this article, and we have to copy and paste 2 blocks of code from the article onto our server. First, we will copy this big block and paste and press Enter. And then we will copy and paste this second block of code and paste and then press Enter. If you get a prompt like this, just press Y and then Enter for the installation to continue. This will again take a while, so be patient. Great! Our Docker installation is complete. Let's check if Docker is running on our server. We will run the command docker ps. If you see something like this, we are good to go. Let's now also get our BrandNav Verifier 2.0 source code onto our server. I will go to the GitHub link, copy the Git URL, and then in our terminal type git clone and paste the URL here. Press Enter and this should pull the Git repository on our server. Type ls to view the folder, and then cd followed by the name of the folder to enter into it. Here I will actually cd in again to the backend folder because we have to create our .env file. To do this, I will run the command cp space .env.example space .env, which will create the base template of our file to edit. Okay, let's now edit our file. To do it, we will use the command nano.env, which will open a text editor in our terminal. Here you can use your arrow keys and backspace on your keyboard to move around and delete characters. Unfortunately, the mouse cursor doesn't work inside Nano, so we will be keyboards only from here. Just like before, we will change our admin email and admin password to whatever we want, and also get rid of the session secret so it can be generated securely by our code. Now let's work on setting up our MX and EM domains. But first, we need to note down the IP address of our VPS. We will need this for our future setup. You might want to keep this noted on a notepad. You can find the IP address on the VPS provider website, or you can also type IPA on the terminal, and that should show us the IP address of our server. This might not always work since sometimes the VPS provider hides your VPS behind a firewall, and so the IP address mentioned in the terminal may not be your actual public IP address. So what you see on your dashboard is more reliable. Now, coming back to the domains, we will need 2 of them. You might be able to make do with just a single domain, but we'd still recommend having 2 if possible. The 2 domains we will use for this demo are grabhog.com and zinkler.com. which will be our EM domain and MX domain respectively. I have both of my domains on Cloudflare, but you can use any other provider you like. The process should be the same for all of them.
First, let's set up the MX domain.
Setting it up is very simple. We click on Add Record and then add a new A record with the subdomain mx1.zinkler.com and the value being the IP address of our VPS we copied over. On Cloudflare, you have to do this extra step where you toggle off the proxy option, which shouldn't be the case for other providers. And finally, we click on Save to create our new record. That's it. We are done with this domain. Simple, right? Let's now set up the EM domain, which has more steps than the MX domain. On the EM domain, first we will create our MX record. Here, we'll select MX from the dropdown. Then in the name, we will leave it empty or type the @ symbol. And then in the mail server, we will type mx1.zinkler.com, which is the subdomain we set up just a while earlier. In the value for priority, you can use any number. I will just type 10 and click on Save. Next, let's set up the DMARC and SPF records. Setting it up is, again, very straightforward. For the DMARC record, all we have to do is add a new record of type txt with the name _DMARC and the content to be this string. You can find this command in our official setup guide, link in the description. Just remember to change the domain mentioned in the guide with the domain you are using here. Since my domain is grabhog.com, my DMARC record mentions grabhog.com. These strings are also very sensitive to changes, so make sure you don't add extra spaces or remove anything. Your final string should look exactly like what you see here. After this, we will click on Save. For the SPF record, we will do the same. Create a new record of type txt, and then for the name, we will just use the @ symbol, or leave empty. And then for the content, we will paste this string. Here, we will make sure to replace the IP address with the IP address of our VPS. And again, be sure to leave no extra spaces or remove any spaces. The content is very sensitive to changes, and yours should look exactly like what you see here, except that you will have a different IP address in its place. And with that, we are done setting up our DNS. Let us now set up our RDNS. This is something that is going to be different from provider to provider, but for Linode, it is actually quite simple. All I have to do is go to the Network tab, and in there, I can click on Edit RDNS. Here, we will simply type the domain, or should I say subdomain, of our MX domain, which in our case is mx1.zinkler.com, the same one we set up a while ago on our DNS. This propagation usually takes a while, but if you wait for about 5 to 10 minutes, you should be able to run a command on your console to verify the RDNS change. Awesome! Now let's go back to the terminal and update our MX and EM domain values. We will use the keyboard to change the MX domain value to mx1.zinkler.com and the EM domain value to grabhog.com. You will change these values to whatever domains you have in your case. To save our changes, we will simply run the command Ctrl+X and then press Y, and then press Enter. Press the keys one after the other in that sequence. Time for our build. We will now run the command docker compose build to start our build. This will again take a while to complete, so be patient. Once done, we will run the command docker compose up-d to start our verifier server. Now, let's verify that the server is running by running the command docker ps. If you see something like this, that should tell you that the server is running. Awesome! But unfortunately, we can't test it just yet. You see, our current setup is not secure, and if we leave it this way, all our communication to our verifier server will be intercepted by an attacker. We don't usually worry about that during our setup on our own device, but on a server, we need to. Let's set up some security for our server. First, we will start off by installing an application called Nginx. Simply run the command sudo apt install nginx-y. This will, again, take a while. If you see any purple screens, just press Enter to skip. Once done, to start our service, we will run sudo apt nginx start, and then to enable on startup, we will run sudo apt nginx enable. Awesome! Let's configure nginx for our verifier code. There is going to be a lot of copy-pasting here, so I'd recommend you go to our official documentation for VPS setup and copy and paste the code from there. The links will be in the description. First, we will go to the correct folder by typing cd/etc/nginx/sites-available. Here, I will type nano.mx1.zinkler.com, which, if you remember, is the MX domain we are using for our verifier setup. In here, we will paste this code. Here, using your keyboard, you will need to make one change. Make sure to replace mx1.zinkler.com here with whatever is your MX subdomain.
Now, press Ctrl+X, then press Y, and then press Enter to save the changes. Now, from the official doc, paste this command. And here again, make sure to update mx1.zinkler.com with your own MX subdomain. To be really secure, we will do one more thing. Type nano default, and you will see a bunch of config here. Just scroll all the way to the bottom of the page by pressing and holding the down arrow key. And right before this white curly brace that you see here, exactly like how you see it, type return 444 and then a semicolon. Finally, press Ctrl+X, then press Y, and then press Enter to save the changes. If you have made it this far, first of all, congratulations on making it to this point. Let's test if our configuration is correct. To do this, we will run the command nginx-t, and you want to see a message like this displayed. Then, finally, type systemctl reload nginx to reload the server with our new configuration. Awesome, we are almost done. This is the last thing required for our setup. Let's set up HTTPS on our server. To do this, we will use a library called certbot. Just copy and paste this command to install certbot. Any purple screens you see, just press Enter. And then finally, copy and paste this command here to install a certificate on your server. Just make sure to replace mx1.zinkler.com with your own MX subdomain. Once you press Enter, you will be asked to enter an email. Enter your personal email that you use so you get notifications on any certificate renewal failure. Press Enter, then press Y, and then Enter to accept terms. And press N and then Enter. This should then generate a certificate for you, and you should see something like this. Okay, but did it work? Let's find out. Go back to your browser, and in your browser, type your MX subdomain. Mine is mx1.zinkler.com, so I will type that and press Enter. And there we go. Perfectly secure and your own personal server-hosted BrandNav Verifier 2.0. You can then log in using your admin email and password, and you should be logged right in. Let's also quickly do a verification here to make sure it works like we expect. I will enter our support email here, and after just a few seconds, there we go. Our verifier is working perfectly. Let's also quickly set up our firewall rules. Just paste these commands in sequence to set up the firewall so your server is secure from all threats. Congratulations on following the tutorial this far, and for now having your very own verifier. We hope you have an amazing time verifying emails.